service to Norwich has been cancelled.
Suicide happens across the country, but as Dr. Fillmore told me on the last episode, there are trends in the data.
The reality is that the rates get higher the more rural you get.
So I wanted to explore why suicide is more prevalent in rural communities. Firstly, I spoke to Bruce Lockhart, an arable and livestock farmer from Norfolk.
It certainly is lonely, and it can be quite depressing. It doesn't matter so much now whether you've had a good lambing or a good harvest, but there's so little money in it. It's quite a proud business, farming. It's been farms handed down generation after generation. It's just presumed that just as your grandfather and your father made a success of it, it's not for everybody. And the other part is the government. Are the government worried about agriculture? Yes, they want healthy food. We want food produced in the correct way, but at a price. And it's not possible to produce it at that price.
Some of these factors that Bruce mentioned contribute to an alarming statistic. According to the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy, male farm workers are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than the national average. I spoke to Kit Papworth, who has been directly affected.
As a farmer in Norfolk, I've always been aware that suicide rates are quite high in the rural communities, particularly amongst farmers, but had no idea that it was ever going to affect me in quite the way that it did. So although my father had poor physical health, he didn't have particularly poor mental health. And then one Saturday morning, I got a call from my mum asking me to go up urgently, and my father had taken his own life. I mean, the first thing to say is it's a huge shock to all of us. We didn't see it coming in any way. He didn't leave a note. Mum and Dad were up in the morning. My mum went outside, and when she came back, she couldn't find my dad, and he'd just gone out into the garden. He, like many farmers, is a very proud man, and he could see that his physical health was probably not going to improve significantly. So I think he felt his best years were behind him. He was only in his early 70s, but I think he thought it was time to go.
I wanted to hear what other farm workers thought about the high rural suicide rate, so I went to Aylsham Farm Show to track some down. Hi guys, sorry to interrupt. Are you the farmers for some of these sheep? Most of the people I met believe that isolation was indeed the root cause.
It's obviously long, lonely hours.
A lot of the farmers are stuck out and they don't see each other.
It is quite an isolating job, long hours, out in the middle of nowhere.
It's quite a singular job, really, so it is very difficult.
Yeah, and particularly if things go wrong, if the price of your crops are poor or your animals do something, you need someone to share that with.
Despite this in the high numbers, I was surprised that almost everyone I spoke to did know where they could get help if they needed it.
Are you aware of what mental health services are available in rural communities out here in Norfolk?
Yes, there's a thing called Yana, which is on the back of a lot of trucks.
You've obviously got Yana.
Yeah, Yana's the only one I know about.
Yana? I know there's the You're Not Alone service.
Yana stands for You Are Not Alone. It was set up 15 years ago as a project and the Clan Trust in Norfolk, a farming charity, to prevent loss of life through suicide.
That last voice you heard there was Emma Haley. She's the charity director for Yana.
When I first started working in Yana, when I would go and speak to a group of people, for the first year, every time I would ask people to raise their hands and show if they were directly or knew of someone who was impacted by suicide. And it was quite shocking to see how many people put their hands up.
Emma told me in her experience what the common reasons are behind suicide in rural and farming communities.
For people that are involved in agriculture, what we come across is just the nature of work and the close-knit community that it is means that there's quite a lot of isolation. Farming is probably one of the few businesses that often doesn't make a profit, but they still keep going. No other business would keep going if they were making losses, but if they don't do it, we don't get the food. So some farmers have had their farms generations, and that weighs heavily on keeping it going. It's not going to go on my watch. I don't want it to be the one that has let it all fall apart and go out with a family, and you don't get that, I think, with very many other sectors really anymore.
As Emma says, there seems to be an acknowledgement across the community that loneliness, financial hardship and pride are among the biggest factors in rural suicide, and Yana are working hard to battle them. Kit is a firm advocate for Yana and other organisations like it, and urges other people to support them so that they can help people who face struggles just like his dad did.
In this area we have 2 or 3 really fantastic charities, but across the country some really good rural charities with GPs on hand 24 hours a day. There's quite a lot of help out there, but a lot of people don't know that it's there. And it is all charity-based, which is why we as an organisation and lots of other farms and other organisations try to support those charities, because without them, I think the situation would be even worse than it is now.